Hey, what's happening, guys? How are you doing? This is Rob of Rule of Two Review. Welcome back to the channel, and today let's talk about all of these crazy awesome holiday games coming out by the end of this year. So right now it is the dead middle of August, which means that the end of summer is upon us, and it is so unbelievably sad. The weather is going to start changing. In fact, at least for me in the Pacific Northwest, the weather has already started to change. The sun is starting to go down really early, and it's pretty depressing. But something that's actually really good starts to come out of the end of summer, which is the beginning of the video game holiday season, which we all know to be one of the strongest points of the year when it comes to video game releases. Sometimes it's a little bit too much. There has been years where it's a little bit overwhelming, as far as how much time we have to play all of these great games, and obviously how much money we have to spend on all of these great games. So there's definitely like a pro and a con, or a positive and a negative to the holiday game season. But I mean, let's be real. Overall, it's a great thing. We all love great games, and so we tend to get excited. And so, since it's the middle of August, and since summer is almost over, and because the holiday season is just about to start, I figured it would be fun to talk about some of the most exciting and biggest games coming out for the holiday in 2019, because this year is stacked. There is so much stuff coming out over the course of the next couple of months, all the way up until the end of 2019, that I just don't even know what to do with myself. And I'm definitely nervous to have so much time to spend on these games, and I definitely am nervous for how I'm going to choose to spend my money on all of these games. That's obviously a big part of it as well. I could buy every game that comes out under the sun, but I kind of want to be smart and not waste money on a game I'm not going to be able to play for 4 or 5 months anyway, and, let some of these games inevitably slip into my back catalog, which is so scary and not great. No one likes having stuff go into, like, the graveyard of death that is their back catalog, right? It's like the worst place for a good-looking game to go, because sometimes we never get back to it. But I do know that that is going to happen with me with some of these games. So there are so many games coming out in the holiday of 2019 that I definitely couldn't and didn't have time to speak about all of them. I decided to just pick what I see as the 10 biggest or most exciting to me to discuss in the order that they release, starting with the soonest game all the way up until the one the farthest away from now. There are some great games I plan on picking up that I am not bringing up on this list. There might be games that you're excited for that I'm not going to touch on, but again, I'm limiting this only to what I see as the biggest 10 games. So let's go ahead and get this started with the earliest game on the list, the one closest to release from today, and that actually happens to be 2 weeks from today, the day this video is going up, on Friday, August 3rd, and that is Astral Chain for the Nintendo Switch. You guys, this game looks incredible. I am so freaking excited for Astral Chain. It's right near the top of my list of all of the games of 2019 that I'm the most excited to play. In fact, there was a period where it was probably my number one game for 2019 I was most excited for. And while that's still possible, there are some other games floating out there that might actually take that number one spot. Either way, this game is going to be very exciting. From Platinum Studios, we all know they're one of the greatest developers out there. They work so well with Nintendo when it comes to making games, between The Wonderful 101 and Bayonetta 2, that we can expect something great from Astral Chain. We also obviously know that they're making Bayonetta 3 as well. So, it's just a cool, futuristic, cyberpunk, crazy, over-the-top, demon-fighting action game. I love the idea of taking this sort of like futuristic cyberpunk cop sort of story and mixing it with fighting these demons, and you're using these chain attack things, and it's just totally wild, and it's all over the place. Coming up soon after that, on September 6th, is Monster Hunter Iceborne, which is the first and I think only significant expansion for Monster Hunter World. And this is exciting to me because Monster Hunter World is probably the game I've played the most in my entire life. It's not my favorite game of all time, but just in terms of hours logged, it's probably Monster Hunter World, you guys. I cannot believe how much I've been addicted to this game. I still play it to this day. It is so excellent for Monster Hunter fans. And Iceborne looks incredible. Like I said, it's the first significant expansion. To be fair, and to give Capcom credit, they have been updating Monster Hunter World with free content ever since it came out. It's really fantastic. There was a ton of content at launch, and there's been a ton of free content since. And so now, 2 years later, we're only finally going to be getting the first significant expansion that we're going to pay money for. I think that's totally fine. I think that's how DLC and paid content should work for games. As opposed to releasing with $200 of other stuff to buy on launch day. Instead, they give you free stuff for a year, year, and then they finally say, okay, here's something so significant and big, it's going to require a little bit extra money. That's fine with me. I love the idea of finally going to an ice tundra location. I'm so excited to have new monsters to hunt, new quests and new NPCs, probably a new hub area. I think this is going to be fantastic. I played the beta. I had a fun time with that, fighting some of those new monsters. There's already a couple of new mechanics that they've hinted at that's also made it into that beta. So I just think it's going to be great. The first expansion for one of my favorite games of the generation that I still play to this day. I couldn't be more excited for Iceborne. Just a few days later, on September 10th, is one of the biggest games of 2019, and it's Gears of War 5, and I can't believe more people aren't talking about this. Although, to be fair, I think that Microsoft is kind of dropping the ball and really focusing on this. I know that there's some stuff happening online and Twitter, but it doesn't seem like the conversation around Gears 5 is very strong, even though most people know it's going to be a great game. It's really a shame, and I think it just goes to speak as to where kind of the Xbox brand and Microsoft is right now in this weird transition between the Xbox One and the Xbox Scarlet next year. So, unfortunately, Gears 5 feels like a casualty of that. But overall, I don't know what to say, man. I absolutely love Gears of War. It's one of my favorite all-time shooting series. Gears of War 4, similar to Monster Hunter, is a game I still play to this day. In fact, I just played it yesterday. I think that the online content for that is so much fun. I very much loved the campaign as well, to be fair. But the multiplayer is great for Gears of War, and again, just like Monster Hunter, there's been significant free content updates ever since that game launched years ago. I mean, they really deserve credit for that, same as Capcom with Monster Hunter. So, Gears of War 5, continuing where that kind of cliffhanger ending of Gears of War 4 was, is very exciting. Again, I think the campaign for Gears 4 was great. I loved the story. The cliffhanger was very interesting. How is that going to lead into Gears 5? I'm really excited to see. They haven't really been talking much about the campaign element, but that's kind of normal nowadays. Online multiplayer stuff is what most companies focus on, and let's be real, it is going to be like the main meat of Gears of War 5 once you've already beaten that campaign. And so, you know, one of my favorite series and one of my favorite genres, I think Gears 5 is going to be great. Probably one of the swan song titles for the Xbox One as well. And so that's really soon on September 10th, man. I can't wait. And just another 10 days down the road is The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. Now, I've already discussed this on the channel. I made a video dedicated to this game. You guys already know why I'm excited for this. Beyond being a Nintendo fanboy and a Zelda maniac fan, is also the fact that the original Link's Awakening is one of 3 Zelda games I've never played. All 3 are handheld games, and Link's Awakening is one of them. And I've always heard the reputation of this game as being, while it's kind of weird and quirky and does the weird things like having like Mario characters and chain chomps in the game, I've also heard it's incredible. Most people love this game. Its legacy is very, very strong. I love what they're doing with the remake, you guys. I cannot get enough of that visual style. I just think it's beautiful. And it's a remake. It's a true remake of a game. I mean, even the HD remasters of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, which are both absolutely fantastic, that's nothing like what a real remake is. So this is just going to be something truly, truly special, you know? And it obviously kind of evokes the style of A Link Between Worlds on the 3DS, which was a sequel to Link to the Past. That was a magnificent game, and now they're taking that concept, I think, to the next level by remaking Link's Awakening here, and I just think it's going to be great. It's going to be so fun portably on the Switch as well. I can't wait. I'm so glad that there's a Zelda game coming out this year that, for me, is essentially going to be a brand new Zelda game, so I can't wait for that on September 20th. On September 27th is another game that really hasn't been getting a lot of attention, and it makes me sad because it's going to be incredible, and that is Code Vein, which feels like a game we've been waiting for 100 years since it was first shown off. And there's been so many rumors back and forth, and it was at E3, and it's coming out this year, it got delayed, it's coming out this next year, it got delayed. It's like, what the heck is going on with this game? Well, right now, as of recording of this video, it's set for September 27th, which is only a week or a month and a half, I should say, away from today. And, you know, people hate the whole comparison of, like, a Dark Souls-like game, and I get it because I do think that comparing games to Dark Souls has gotten a little bit overwhelming and inaccurate, but everything we've seen from Code Vein, and I can tell you as a Dark Souls fan, this game is a Dark Souls-like. This is a situation where that description applies, and it's not people being lazy with trying to describe it, nor is it a negative to the game. It's only a positive to me. I think that a lot of people are going to be excited for this game simply because it's similar to games like Dark Souls and Bloodborne. That's a very popular sort of style of action game. and I love that Code Vein is doing it in more of like a steampunk kind of setting. It's like steampunk and vampires, but using like a Dark Souls gameplay kind of formula, and this awesome like cel-shaded graphic art style. And it's from Bandai Namco. I mean, there's just so much working in this game's favor, and I've loved the couple of previews we've seen from it over the years. We haven't seen a lot from this game, and so that's why it doesn't feel like the game is so close to release. But as of right now, it is scheduled for September 27th, so for me, I can't wait for this game. Jumping ahead all the way until October 25th is Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and I know that there's some kind of controversy with this game because of all the reasons that happens with Call of Duty games. I'm very excited. This looks like possibly for the first time in 10 years, they've actually done something to change the engine and the playability of Call of Duty. I'm excited that they're doing a reboot of Modern Warfare. I think Modern Warfare's 1 and 2 are probably the best Call of Duty games ever made. I know that Modern Warfare 2 is my personal favorite. And so I like that they're bringing the Modern Warfare name back. I'm curious to see what this reboot is like. But from the gameplay stuff that they've shown so far, it really looks like the feel, the weight of your character, the animations, how it changes the sort of rhythm and pace of the gameplay has all been changed. This engine looks possibly different than the previous Call of Duty engine, which I think would make it the first change since the series started. And they've been trying to tell us they've done that over the years, and it never really was true. But maybe this time it's true. And I don't know what to say. I just love Call of Duty. I love the Modern Warfare brand. The multiplayer stuff looks great. This is supposed to have a campaign, so I'm really glad that's coming back. I love Black Ops 4. I shouldn't say I love it. I like Black Ops 4, but I didn't like trading out the campaign for the Blackout Battle Royale mode. I hate that mode. It is not for me. I wish there was a campaign. And so I think Modern Warfare is going to do all the right stuff. I'm a big fan, so I can't wait for it. And on October 31st, Halloween night, is Luigi's Mansion 3. Oh man, I cannot stress how excited I am for Luigi's Mansion 3, you guys. This game is going to be so amazing. I love the original Luigi's Mansion. I have such fond memories of playing that game when the GameCube launched back in 2001. I was living in like my second apartment I ever lived in at the time. And that game just totally captured my entire imagination, you know. I was like 20 or 21 years old. I would have been 21 actually when that game came out. And I thought it was the most beautiful game I'd ever seen. I loved the aesthetic. I loved the idea of being stuck in a mansion. The GameCube technology seemed so new and high-tech at the time. And the game looked like a Pixar movie. And it just was so fun, and I just love Luigi. He's such a dumbass character, like, in an endearing way, I mean, not in a dumb way. Like, I genuinely love Luigi, even though he's a dumbass. And, you know, whistling the tune of the mansion. And I also love that this game is doing something where you are in one mansion again, which I think is ideal, and each floor of the mansion, which is also a hotel, I should add, it has like a different theme to it. Like there's a movie set, and there's like a dungeon, you know, and there's like a lava place. It just is like, it's gonna be so cool. I love what they're doing. A haunted hotel, Luigi's Mansion on the Switch. You can play this portably. They've added multiplayer stuff. They've added the Guigi component, which I think Guigi looks great. I love how they're probably going to add puzzles to that, new mechanics. It's going to be awesome. Luigi's Mansion 3, I can't wait. Now on November 8th is the big mystery title that no one knows anything about, Death Stranding. This game is pretty much right at the top of my list, you guys. It might be number 1 or 2 for me out of all of these great games. I'm not the biggest Hideo Kojima fan. I discussed this when that, 8-minute trailer for this game came out a couple months ago. I'm not like this big Kojima fan. I'm not a big Metal Gear fan. So you might think, Rob won't be that into the idea of Death Stranding. But that's not the case. This game is appealing to me in all of the best ways. And honestly, it's just because it's weird, I mean, I know the weirdness and the confusingness about the game is what people, at least people who aren't into it, seem to not like, and that's what they used to complain about the game. They're like, this game is still confusing. I still don't know what's going on. It's just weird for the sake of weird, so I hate it. And it's like, hey, if that's you, then that's you, and you have fun with that. For me, I like weird stuff. I like dark stuff. I like horror films and horror games, and I just like the kind of darker ideas out there. And what this game seems to be doing in the story it seems to be telling is very much that. And I love it. And I also love the mystery. It's so weird to me that people complain about the fact that we don't seem to, quote, know everything about this game before it comes out. Who wants to know everything about a game or a story or a movie before it comes out? If a game or a movie or a story is supposed to be mysterious and unravel as you experience it, aren't they only supposed to show you the stuff that makes you wonder more about it so that you experience it to learn what's going on? The answer to that question is yes, by the way, and that's what Death Stranding is. So when people say it looks bad simply because they don't know anything about it and they don't know what's going on, it's, to me, one of the laziest complaints about a video game I think I've ever heard, because that is the point. It's supposed to look weird and confusing, but also enticing enough to make you want to experience it to learn the answers to the questions you have. That's the purpose. And so I don't want to go off on a ranty sort of tangent about this game, because at the end of the day, I'm just very excited for it. I think it's going to be incredible, so I can't wait. We're getting close to the end here with 2 more games to go, and on November 15th is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. And I have to be excited for this game, you guys. You know me, Star Wars is my #1 favorite thing in the world, and this seems like, keyword seems like, the actual Star Wars game that we've been waiting for ever since EA's dumb faces took over Star Wars back in 2013. And I know we have reasons to be nervous because EA really sucks and because they do shady business practices and microtransactions and all of these things. I get it. I'm nervous about that too. But as things stand currently, before the game has released, they've said no microtransactions, no paid-for add-on content, and this game is 100% story-focused, and it seems to be telling a really great story in a time frame that I care about, focusing on Jedi characters and force powers, and it looks great. The gameplay looks awesome. So, I mean, I get it. We all hate EA. I'm right there with you guys, but I love Star Wars more than I hate EA, if that makes sense. And I've seen nothing from this game that looks bad. In fact, everything I've seen makes me massively excited. Setting it after the events of Order 66, after Revenge of the Sith, in that time period where the Empire continued to rise into power, eventually getting into Episode 4: A New Hope, I think that's the best time period to tell any Star Wars story, and I'm excited to meet this new Jedi character and learn what his role in the events of the Star Wars saga really is. It's going to be really cool to me. I hate EA, but I can't help but being excited for this game, so it makes my list. And the final game for the holiday that I'm excited for, you obviously can tell what it is now, and that is Doom Eternal on November 22nd. And what more needs to be said about this, man? I think we've all pretty much played that 2016 Doom game. We all know how great it was. It made a huge splash. It was a massive success. People really landed with that game. And I'm really glad, because I was always excited for that game, and by the time it came out, I was like, holy crap, this is the greatest thing ever. Like, I loved that game so much. And for the first few weeks, I was kind of worried that people really weren't that into that game, but within a month or two, actually, the conversation changed, and all I saw anywhere was massive love for that game. And so I was like, okay, this is good. This game is getting the love that it deserves. And now we see Doom Eternal, and what I love about what Doom Eternal seems to be is it's one of those situations where, yeah, they've evolved and upgraded the experience, but they really haven't changed it. They basically haven't fixed what isn't broken, if that makes sense. It's just like, hey, everything about Doom 2016 was so great, so let's tighten it up, let's add a couple of things, and just dial it up to 11, and make that the sequel. And sometimes people might point out that that's not the best way to make a game, because you want to do more things, but I don't really feel like that's the case here. With Doom Eternal, I'm like, great. It's just more of the same. They're not trying to get too crazy with it. Just dial this game up to 11, like I said, add a couple of extra things, and just make it good, man. And that's what it seems to be. Very excited it's launching day and date on the Nintendo Switch, because I think I am going to double dip. I would like to play it on like my Xbox or my PlayStation, but I also want to support games like this on my Nintendo Switch, and I probably will play it on my Switch simply because I can play it portably when I want. So I don't really know how I'm going to do that here. I'm at least getting the Switch version. I might also be double dipping just to get this, the better graphics on the other version, but overall, it doesn't even matter, man. It's going to be the same game across the board. I can't wait. I loved the last Doom. I think Doom Eternal looks amazing, coming out on November 22nd. Man, so many good freaking games, man. And like I said, that was just 10 games. There's plenty of other games that look fantastic that I didn't have a chance to mention. The Blair Witch Project is one. The new Pokemon game is coming out in November, of course. There's so much stuff. The Baldur's Gate games. It's crazy. There's so many games coming out this year. And it's only a good problem to have. It is a problem because it means we need money and time, but it's a good problem. So yeah, man, what do you guys think about this holiday for 2019, man? It's so incredible. What do you think about the 10 games that I highlighted here? What about other games that didn't make the list, like Pokemon, like I said, or Blair Witch, whatever, that maybe you're excited for, that you want to talk about? Whatever it is, man, talk about it below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this holiday breakdown, and with that, this video is a wrap. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in. This is Rob of Rule of 2 Review, and I'll catch you guys next time on another video.